We'll kick off. Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for attending our webinar today around managed SOC services. Just to let you all know that this webinar is being recorded for marketing purposes. If you do have any questions at all throughout any of the presentations, please just pop it in the Q&A. And I will absolutely reply on there if I can at the time, if I've got the answer, or if not, I'll leave it to the end and either Keith or Rick will be able to answer your questions then, and we'll have a go through them. Well, welcome. And I'd just like to introduce Keith Maskell, who's the Titan Head of Cybersecurity, and myself, who's a cybersecurity specialist here at Titan, and also our guest speaker, who is the CEO and co-founder of Digital X-Ray, Rick Jones. So we look forward to a great webinar. I'll hand over to you, Keith, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Okay, thanks. Let's go on to the next slide. So welcome and good morning. Thanks for joining. Titan Data Solutions is a distributor of cybersecurity services and solutions, as well as storage and archive products. We focus on services. We believe that's a growth area that's really in demand. And we're happy to work with Digital X-Ray, which is a leader in this field in the UK. They are certified with CREST, with Check, and with ISO. They have a huge reputation in the market, and we're very proud to have Rick Jones, the CEO and co-founder of the company, with us today, who's going to run through their services. We start from prevention in our services. We go through assessment of weaknesses, detection of threats, and response, and importantly, response to problems that have occurred. And managed SOC is really important to us in the sense of providing some kind of response to the customer and additional services, wraparound services on top of the threat detection. So without any further delay, I'll hand over to Rick, CEO, co-founder of Digital X-Ray.
Thank you, Keith. Morning, everyone. So my name's Rick Jones. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Digital X-Ray. We're a specialist cybersecurity company. We offer industry-leading cyber assurance services, where, as Keith explained, we're a Check and a CREST penetration test in-house. So our services are certified to provide to Her Majesty's central government and on national critical infrastructure and MOD projects. In terms of the cybersecurity space, it's very heavily regulated, and we're in the top 1% in terms of the certifications for the services that we provide. Just below, you can see the list of badges that we've got, and that makes our customers have confidence in the services that we provide. So a little bit about who Digital X-Ray are. Well, our mission, we believe that being part of a connected world, it shouldn't come at a cost to a business, and we are driven and motivated to ensure that the bad guys, the hackers, don't win. So we do this by breaking down the boundaries. We explore the dark, evolving world of cyber, identifying emerging threats that could ultimately carry devastating consequences to business if not identified. To help and deliver this, we provide a 24/7 industry-leading cybersecurity solutions, and we never sleep, so our customers can. So one of the cybersecurity solutions we provide is our CREST certified SOC, that's our Security Operations Center. We're one of only 8 globally certified under the CREST badge to provide that service. I'm going to play you a little video now. It gives you a brief introduction of the things that we offer. I hope that gives you a little overview of what we do here at Digital X-Ray. So in regards to our services, so here's a list of some of our service offerings that I'm going to take you through. So at the top left, you can see penetration testing or ethical hacking. So all the services that we provide cover the three sort of cybersecurity pillars: offensive security, defensive security, and compliance. So all our services span across those three security pillars. The first one being penetration testing. So what is penetration testing? Well, it is ethical hacking. So what we do is we hack and identify systems and services to highlight the business impact effectively before the bad guys or before the real hackers do. This gives an effective overview of the company's exposure and what their risks are, meaning how their data or services could be manipulated to potentially cause business impact through ransom, through data exfiltration, and supply chain. So a penetration test will give you or your customers the insight of where their risks are, so they don't fall victim of one of the most common attacks. Then we've got, so that is our offensive security. Then in terms of compliance, you've got things like ISO 27001 on Cyber Essentials. So both of these form part of our compliance strategy. A lot of organizations now have to, specifically if they're working with third-party supply chain, have to provide evidence that they're taking cybersecurity seriously, and their business is not going to cause an impact through a partnership to another business. So in order to impart confidence and show to suppliers, stakeholders that an organization is meeting security standards, there is compliance requirements, and these can be often met by achieving Cyber Essentials and ISO 27001, of which Digital X-Ray has a fully managed service to help support an organization with delivering both these products. Harpoon X. So Harpoon X is our managed phishing platform. This again is a managed service. So because we're not a training house per se, we are a dedicated bunch of security professionals. Our Harpoon X phishing service covers multiple things in terms of building bespoke phishing campaigns that target individual departments or key personnel. Again, for you as an organization to again understand where your exposure is. Companies will spend vast amounts of money on technology and implementing security controls to provide best protection for the organization. But a lot of the time, it is an employee that will fall foul of a malicious email and cause a business impact through opening that email, engaging with it, whether that's through sharing credentials or clicking on a bad link. So our Harpoon X offering helps educate and highlight those risk areas so that your company's organizations don't fall foul to phishing attacks. We constantly manage, and there is a Outlook, Harpoon X Outlook plugin that is shared to everybody who takes up this service. And if they have an email they're not quite sure of, they can click this link. It'll forward it back to our security professionals who will analyze, dissect, and make sure that it isn't actually going to cause you any harm, and then you can continue to interact with that email. We've got our security assurance packages, which we'll go into a little bit more detail, but the security assurance packages are effectively a blend of our different services across the three security pillars in order to give an organization that rounded, holistic security approach to make sure that they're meeting the compliance, that they're understanding the risk, and they've got their monitoring in place. And then there's the Security Operations Center. So this is the jewel in Digital X-Ray's crown. This is where we've got a number of UK-based, highly qualified cybersecurity professionals that are monitoring your organisation or your customers' organisations, key assets, 24/7, 365 to make sure that you are not going to fall foul of a cyber attack. So those, in essence, are our packages and individual services that we provide from Digital X-Ray. We go into a little bit more detail in terms of the cyber packages. As I say, all the services that are formulated into these packages can be sold individually, so like a penetration test or the cyber essentials or vulnerability scanning, etc., can all be sold independently. However, we find that customers who are embarking on the cybersecurity journey, these packages make it very simplified and allow them to demonstrate and meet a load of security requirements that quite honestly they should be meeting. And as they mature, so do the packages to help them on that journey. So the bronze package is the entry package. So with this, you have got an ongoing threat assessment. So we do vulnerability assessments, quarterly vulnerability assessments. This is testing their external presence and making sure that it's secure, and any vulnerabilities that are highlighted are reported so their customer or their customer's IT department can mitigate appropriately. We provide a clear patch management plan so they understand what the risks are and how they need to best apply effort on shutting down those risks. And then there's also the Cyber Essentials Plus. So with the Cyber Essentials Plus, again, this is a government certification. It allows them to demonstrate again that they're meeting the required benchmark for cybersecurity, and this will protect roughly 80% of online threats. So it's very good for them to embark on. Second one is the silver, so it covers everything else. You've got the cyber essentials, you've got the quarterly external vulnerability, but what the silver adds is the penetration test. So this is a real world simulated hack against the business. The key difference between a vulnerability assessment and a penetration test is the penetration test goes that step further. It's identified what the threat of vulnerabilities are. We then go to execute and really show an organization what would happen if that vulnerability or a number of vulnerabilities were linked together to cause impact to the business. This gives them then a very clear understanding of how they should apply budgets, of what their impacts is or what their exposure is, and then they can take a pragmatic and proactive approach to shutting those down as opposed to being hacked. With the gold, again, you've got everything that you've had in the silver, but the addition is the external web penetration test. Now, penetration testing as a term covers so many facets. It could be mobile penetration testing of mobile apps. It could be application testing of application and web apps. It could be infrastructure testing in terms of your infrastructure. It could be cloud-based in terms of your cloud. So penetration testing covers a variety of areas of which Digital X-Ray are fully certified to government level to provide those services. So we would help you with your customers scope out the job in order to make sure that the right penetration test is tailored to their organization. So that's the gold with the web application. And then the last one is the platinum. So again, you're getting everything that you did with gold. The addition is the Harpoon X, so the managed phishing service, which we spoke about earlier. So those are the packages. Packages seem to go very well with the customers, especially those who are on the early journey in terms of cybersecurity maturity. Now we're going to get onto the Security Operations Centre. So Digital X-Ray SOC is a UK-based SOC. We have 15 certified individuals who are monitoring 24/7, looking at our customers and making sure that in turn your customers would be protected. In terms of regulation and providing confidence that we do a good job. Our SOC is CREST certified, and as I mentioned, there's only today 8 fully certified CREST SOC companies globally. So what is a SOC? So a SOC is made up of multiple of services. So you've got a SIM, which is a secure information event monitoring system. So this is where we will be taking feeds from a number of systems and services, ingesting all those feeds and looking for potential indicators of compromise that we can then add playbooks to or actions which would limit impact or remove impact altogether in terms of a security breach or a malicious activity. IDS, so intrusion detection system, again, we look at things like IDS as well as dark web monitoring, which we'll get into the sort of details of that later in the presentation. But all these services are what form part of our delivery in terms of the Security Operations Centre. So what can we do for your customers? So we ensure that your businesses stay protected. We're a trusted and regulated SOC, and the service that we provide runs all the time. So your customers can be rest assured that if they don't have the teams or the infrastructure or the skill set in order to provide that level of protection that they need or need to show to suppliers, that we can give them on a managed service. So we will effectively be their eyes and ears. We work closely with your customers to make sure that they're safe and secure. And in essence, what we're really providing is peace of mind. Our Secure Operations Centre, as I said, works around the clock, and we build relationships with your end customer. But ultimately, Digital X-Ray doesn't sleep, so your customers can. So these are just some of the common problem statements that your customers will face in terms of why they may want to consume some of the services that Digital X-Ray provides. So it may be the fact that they currently have a presence on the internet, they're of a certain size, and they're concerned around what their exposures are, but the company doesn't actually understand what their exposure is or what the impact of these are. So if you're speaking with your customers and you're asking them questions like, would you know if you were under active attack? And they say no. Or what would you do if you were to be under active attack? And the answer is they don't know. Then they're going to benefit from the solutions that we provide. If they're unsure of their assets, so would they understand if someone malicious was to be active on their network? If they didn't know how to monitor that or understand if that was the case, then again, it's something that we can help them with. They may not have the necessary skill set in-house. So, Digital X-Ray's employees, again, are all very highly certified and specialists to offer these services, right up to Majesty's central government level and MOD. So quite often you'll find that actually they don't have the skill set in-house to provide that level of security, and they can't actually bring that level of skill set in-house. Feeling exposed due to lack of knowledge, again, through limited knowledge in terms of cyber threats and understand what's going on in the wider world, even having the time to make sure that someone is monitoring and actively looking about what are the latest threats and how they might impact the business, that would be an area of concern. And really needing a partner. So they might want a partner to work with, someone who can just, take them by the hand, under the wing, shield them from what is going on out there, and ultimately protect the business and reduce the risk at the right return of investment. And they could also be driven through compliance to ensure that they have all these things in place. And in order to achieve them, again, they need to work with a partner to help them achieve compliance requirements, be that driven through online transactions such as PCI DSS, be it through a security management service such as ISO 27001, or a compliance requirement in terms of cyber essentials, or whatever compliance requirement, NIST, SOC 2, Sarbanes-Oxley, ISO 9001, 27001. Digital X-Ray has got the pedigree and the certified staff to help your customers achieve their compliance requirements. So this slide now goes into really providing some education around, the questions around, well, why do we want to use a partner? Let's not use a partner and let's do it ourselves in-house. So what would it take for an organization to decide that they wanted to run a security operations center to the highest standard, i.e. CREST certified, to make sure that they get the right level of protection? What would they need? Well, first of all, they would need a full team. They would need a full team of security professionals to ingest and manage all that ingestion and build the use cases and build the playbooks to manage that SOC. So all the engineering team, etc., to make sure that all that information is ingested into a secure operations center and built into a big data lake or a data repository that could then be analyzed and managed. Then you'd need a team of researchers or analysts that are then going to look at all that ingested information, identify key indicators of compromise, identify issues related to playbooks, and how they would then action them and mitigate threats. And then that team then would need to be available on shift 24/7, 365, because unfortunately hackers are not friendly. They don't work 9 to 5, and also they're not based in the UK all the time, so they're in different time zones. So you're going to need a full team 24/7, 365 to be able to monitor and respond to alerts. So in order to deliver that, as an average, you're looking at around about 36 products that cover everything, because you're not just wanting an alert system, but you've now got to think of things that in terms of you need to monitor endpoint, you need to monitor cloud environment, you need to monitor on-premise, you need to monitor threat feeds, you need to monitor dark web, and then you need a team of people. So you're looking at around about 36 products and anywhere from 10 to 20 people as a team in order to deliver an effective security operations center. So quite often it's just untangible for an organization to step up to deliver that internally. As average, you're looking around £800,000 a year for an organization to invest themselves into buying those products, hiring the certified staff, dealing with staff turnover, dealing with licensing changes, dealing with updates. It's just not feasible to deliver an enterprise level certified security operations center. So how can Digital X-Ray help with that issue? So we can provide our highly trained, government certified SOC that gives them all the compliance requirements, all the assurance and everything that they need, that their systems, services and employees are being monitored, are being actively and proactively checked and meeting standards, and that they are not going to fall foul of a security incident. And at what price does that come from? Well, Digital X-Ray's Security Operations Center can be offered to protect an organization for the cost of one InfoSec employee. Now, Keith will get into more details around costings with you guys after this presentation, but the message here is that to deliver all that enterprise level security is not, it's not something where it was 15 years ago. It was just unattainable for organizations. now medium-sized businesses who are needing this protection can actually afford it. So what can your customers expect? So let's get under the hood a little bit around Digital X-Ray Security Operations Center. What do we actually do? So all these that I'm going to go through now form part of the toolings and the service offering in order to make sure that we're bringing a enterprise security operations center that is giving the visibility of issues, and making sure that the security center is no longer just a SIM. It's covering everything in terms of endpoint, on-prem and cloud. So one of the things is asset discovery. So we build a strong repository of assets that are on your organization. So if something plugs in or something doesn't belong on your network, we'll know about it, and we'll be able to identify and mitigate based on agreed playbooks. Vulnerability assessment. So as part of being under the Secure Operations Center, you get monthly or weekly, depending on how you want to do it as a customer, vulnerability assessment. This is where all your assets have vulnerabilities associated with them, and then a clear patch management plan is derived from that. So behavioral monitoring. So we look for anomalies that are on the network. We will tie into third-party applications such as your O365, G Suite, etc. And then we can look for things like authentication errors or brute force attacks, or someone trying to log in to Office 365 a number of times, or we can look for things like email forwarders or anything like that. That potentially could be indications of compromise. So the intrusion detection system, again, we deploy HIDs and NIDs, so that's host-based and network-based IDS. This is signature-based IDS, pulling in loads of information and against a known repository of known vulnerabilities. So if your systems match these triggers, we get an alert. Again, SIM and log. So when you traditionally talked about a SOC, really what you meant was a SOC was just a SIM. So security information event monitoring is we take feeds from everything, whether it's on network or in the cloud. So anything that produces a log, we can take a feed from it. All that information is ingested into a big data lake, and then we build playbooks and look for indications of compromise. So all this rich information will allow us to very quickly identify any malicious activity and shut it down before it causes a major business impact. Endpoint detection and response. As we all know, it's not just contained on a network now. Quite often, a lot of these malicious activities are targeted to endpoints, specifically with the dawn of the cloud and post-COVID in terms of remote working. A lot of people now are sat at home, so our endpoint detection and response enables us to offer that security-wide control anywhere, whether they're on premise or off premise. We can make sure that those systems are monitored and protected. So file integrity monitoring. Again, organizations have specific files, bespoke files, or DLLs that shouldn't be changed. So we're monitoring these for anything any registry updates or any changes that might happen, to make sure that whether they are contained or quarantined or alerted on, but to make usually if they're being changed without any notification, it's related to a security incident, and those will be acted on appropriately. The dark web monitoring. So Digital X-Ray provides dark web monitoring as part of the Security Operations Center. So we look at your domain or your customer's domain to make sure that there's no information being shared about those on the dark web. We have Our SOC team have infiltrated non-hacking groups and they're very active on the dark web. So again, we're always looking for key indicators around your domain. And we also look at all your email addresses and up to 10 personal emails for key individuals in the business. So all this information is tracked and monitored on the dark web about your key individuals, your employees, and your domain, to make sure there's nothing going on the dark web. Compliance reporting, because once you're in the Security Operations Centre, we understand your assets, the vulnerabilities, and how it's all managed. It allows us to build bespoke compliance reports, which can save a company thousands of hours a year in terms of providing the right evidence that they need for audit. These can be run very quickly. So whatever compliance requirements that your customers have, once they're in the Security Operations Centre, we can tailor these reports. So with the click of a button, they can run the reports off against the majority of compliance requirements to meet audit standards. So ISO 27001, 9001, HIPAA, SOX, Sarbanes, Oxley, etc., etc. So we can bespoke and tailor these to make sure that they're meeting audit. So threat intelligence. So all this information is very important. Everything that we deliver here is what makes a Security Operations Centre. The other thing as well is threat intel. So what's going on, not actually as it's happening, what can we do proactively? So we build what is called a hive mentality. That means that anything that we identify through threat intel, through our guys actively hunting, that might be our penetration testing team finding new vulnerabilities, that's feeding back into the SOC. That might be we're part of one of the largest open threat intelligence networks in the world. So we're constantly identifying and learning new issues that we again implement into our SOC and protect our customers before they fall foul of these. Anything that we deliver through an existing customer, we share, which we call the hive. So it's not then an upsell or we're charging the customer. It's ultimately we want to provide the right level of security, and that's what drives Digital X-Ray first. So this information is shared automatically across all our customers. And then in terms of what is called SOA, which is Secure Orchestration and Response, what that means is as the relationship with your end customer matures and we understand their systems and services much more, we can then look at implementing secure orchestration and response techniques. That is, if we identify an issue, then based on an agreed playbook and based on the right to act that the customer has given Digital X-Ray the right to act, we can then shut systems down, lock firewalls, etc., etc. And it's all about that, reducing that time. And I think this brings on a very important point around what our Security Operations Centre does. So quite often, SOCs are very much an alert service. So an organisation will employ the skill set of someone like Digital X-Ray, and quite often the level where they hand off to the customer is, we've identified some malicious activity, you're definitely under active attack, we've identified this behaviour, Mr. Customer, now it's over to you. And that is not what Digital X-Ray do. We do not, at the point when you really need us the most, just say you're being hacked. We work with you, we shut down, we report, we help communicate to the wider board, we give you the analysis, we're all the way through in making sure that system is contained, quarantined, shut down, reported on. So what can we do for your customers? Well, we'll effectively be their security team. It's very much a partnership. It's a Security Operations Centre. It's a 3-year engagement. So we will be an extension of their security team, not just the SOC. Quite often, because we're very impartial, they'll want to speak to us about other technologies that they're wanting to implement. They'll want an impartial view around, the security of those. Because we don't make any points on it per se, we always give an honest view. We'll provide proactive threat hunting, through our open threat exchange, through our dark web, through the guys just actively trying to find out new threats. All this information is provided into the SOC through the threat hunting, and then really we're giving rapid and structured responses. So one of the most important things is mean time to detection. So quite often when someone falls foul of a security breach, the first time they hear about it is probably after, I can't remember the exact number, but I think it's closer to 3 months before they would identify that someone's been in their network. So one of the things that we always ask customers is, what would it mean to you if someone had unrestricted access to your systems and services for 3 months without you knowing? Well, our mean time to detection, so defined, is literally seconds and minutes, not months. So we provide a economical security operations center to provide global leading protection for your customers. And we are known in the business as the blue team. The hackers are the red team, and we're known as the blue team. So that's it from me in terms of the Security Operations Center. I will now hand you back over to Keith. Thanks very much for listening.
Rick, thank you very much indeed. That's absolutely amazing. Thank you very much. A tremendous summary of what can be quite complex to do, but hopefully quite simple to understand, sell and deliver. And thank you for making that for us. Let me just put it in context now, because Titan is, as I say, assembling these services for sale through distribution. There's something for everybody, literally. We've got services from a few £100 or £1,000 or £2,000 at the bottom end, up to £250,000 plus for a big managed SOC project for 3 years. So there's a full range to sell. If you look at it from the threat point of view, and what we're trying to do technically, prevention is the first level, and small companies are typically at this level, and they have some antivirus and some firewalls. A lot of the people on the call will be thinking that they could take their customers to the next level of security, and this could be by adding vulnerability assessment, penetration testing. This is kind of assessing threats, assessing where you stand on your security posture, and looking for open doors. And this is the kind of thing that Rick's been talking about in the services, and they can be provided as either a professional service, which is a one-off project, or a managed service basis for multi-year projects. So this is the assessment level. As the companies get more open to security and understanding they need a higher level of security, then detection and response become critical. And where we stand today, human beings are essential. There's no getting away from this, that human attention is required to filter, as Rick explained, to go through the threats, to understand what's happening, the context, and to understand what to do, and especially to filter out the false positives that otherwise would disrupt everybody. So, and responding, because, we talk about products quite often, but really this managed SOC is crucial, because, when you get a threat, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, what do you do? And do you understand, even if you're an end user, do you understand what is happening to you? What is the SOC saying? And the beauty of the managed SOC is that they actually do take responsibility to act on that threat in agreement with the customer, to respond, to mitigate, to investigate, to deal with that threat. So the customer can even keep on sleeping if they want to, while the SOC carries out the agreed actions to investigate and deal with the threat. So it's this full wrapper of services, the full wrapper of looking after the customer and actually trying to solve the customer's problem, as opposed to pumping different products. Rick mentioned the 36 products that you would need. I think this is a very important point. So it's got too confusing, it's very complex, but working with managed SOC makes it really much simpler to protect yourself. So this is a proposition technically, a whole range of different services, a huge opportunity, and as I say, something for everybody, from the smallest end user up to the largest end user. Can the next slide, please, Rick? So this is a menu of our services from Titan. Certainly, I would say Digital X-Ray is flagship supplier for us and provides a big footprint of these services. But this is a full menu, and you can see, I'm not going to go through it now, but you can see there's a full menu of services that we provide. As I say, a majority of these are coming and available from Digital X-Ray, and we're very proud to work with them on that. So here we talk about this offline. If anybody wants to pick up on this, we can talk about any of these different services. But moving on to the next slide, please, Rick. Very important in the sale of these services are how we actually sell the services. And this is where Titan becomes, really comes into its own, not just in selecting and working and finding great jewels in the IT security world like Rick and Digital X-Ray and working with them and acting as distribution for them, but also providing the contractual basis for delivering these services to your customers. There are two basic methods provided in our reseller contract. The first method is where you supply Rick's services and he supplies them directly to your end user, but you're controlling the customer. You're selling to the customer. It's your customer. You get paid, but Rick is supplying the services directly to that end customer. So you don't need to get involved in it. You can stand back, and the responsibility for those services is squarely with Rick, with the vendor. And the other method is through the managed service provider, where you may be supplying already. You may be supplying a set of services to a customer, and yet in that case you want Rick to supply his services to you, and you're going to wrap them into your services and sell them on to the end customer. And we can handle both methods. We call the first kind is vendor supply, where the vendor, which is Rick, is supplying them, and the second, the reseller supply, is where the reseller supply is where you're selling to your end user and Rick is supplying the services to you. So we've got both methods, and our contracts provide for all these ways of working, and that's been a major investment in the first stages of getting this off the ground. Next slide, please, Rick. Yes, so our proposition in a nutshell to the reseller, and some of you will have seen this, and for others it's new, but this method of supplying to the customer with contracts is absolutely fundamental. For those of you that have not had an annuity business in the past, this is a good way to build an annuity business with renewals every year or every 3 years. You've got revenue building up cumulatively, going ahead, and really good margins. Offline, we'll talk about the margins, but the margins are good on this. We do have sufficient room to maneuver and give good margins on this. We have the protections in place contractually so that your customer is your customer. And this is essential, I think, in this kind of setup. You don't need to invest to get technical resources to get into this business. You do one of the great things, although it's complex to deliver for Rick, but it's really simple for you, for a reseller, because you don't need to recruit any kind of technical support actually to do it. Titan will handle pre-sale support for you. We'll do the pre-sale support if you want us to. We're happy to train you as well, but we're happy to do the pre-sale support and bring in the Rick when required. And on the other side, after you sell it, it's self-supporting. So it's not like software and hardware where you need people on board who can support that. In this case, the services are being provided by the MSP, the managed security services provider, and they are supporting it themselves. The deal registration process is controlled by Rick for Digital X-Ray business, and in general by our vendors. So this is a very important part of this. And finally, the marketing support. And Sarah, who introduced the session today, is responsible for making sure that we roll out the marketing support to you, so that not only you have these services, but you can market them effectively to your users. And in fact, that if I move on to the next slide, Rick, we talk a second on that. We have a channel program for our cybersecurity partners. It's summarized in this slide here, but we provide all kinds of support. We have a portal which you can sign into, which will give you all the PDFs and all the information that you need, and will give you campaigns that you can run to your end users, summarizing some of the things that Rick has been talking about, and with specific targeted subjects for the campaigns. We can provide all kinds of content for the web. We'll do the work as much as you need us to provide that kind of branding and web presence that you need for your web, for your website. And just to give you an indication of the kind of campaign that we run, I'll go on to the next slide, please, Rick. Yeah, so here's actually a campaign for the managed SOC services that we saw Rick talking about, the big fish, where we supply the full managed SOC. And here's a simple campaign that can be run to your end users with our full support through the portal that we provide. So that's it in a nutshell. We'd love to work with you. We've got tremendous range of services on board, and Rick, it's tremendous to be working with Rick, who, as I say, is absolutely a leader in this field, and certainly in the UK, a leader in light. So thank you very much again to Rick. Rick, if you go on to the next slide, it's our conclusion. To follow up, please contact us. Sarah, who introduced, is very happy to hear from anybody, and me. We're all happy to hear from you. So please make contact with us if you want to follow up on anything that you've seen in this presentation. Thanks again to everybody. Sarah, do we have any questions at all?
We don't know, so no one's asked any questions, but
Okay.
if there is anything and you'd like to take it offline, absolutely please do contact us and we'll get back to you. Equally, if you'd like to set up a meeting to find a little bit more about how these can benefit you, please do get in contact. But thank you very much to everyone for attending, and we hope you found it really useful, and we look forward to speaking with you soon.
Very good, thank you. Thanks again, Rick.
Bye.
Thank you,
Cheers.
Rick. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Keith.
Bye.
Take care, everybody. Bye.